Hello, everybody. I am recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and I'm not sure when it's going to go up. I think that probably Tuesday night. I will upload it after JS stream. I've noticed that in the past when I upload something, then there's a stream, then some of you guys go to watch the video instead of the stream. So, if you're watching this right now, and there's a stream you should be watching, hit pause right now, and go back to the stream. That's an order. um, I'm really excited because of Wednesday is the 100th episode for This Week on the Alt-Right. So, I'm thinking about that one, especially right now. And if you are watching this right now when you should be watching that episode, you're in big trouble unless you pause it and go back to that stream. But seriously though, I am really excited about that, and that for several months that's kind of been my big thing that I've been looking forward to. And I did want to say something though. When it probably doesn't matter very much, but I had said something a couple of months ago that I was going to not do chemo until after that episode, the 100th episode. And I think I made it sound a little bit different than how I meant it. I had been thinking about my next round of chemo and when that would be, and I was feeling bad for all the things that I had missed, especially around Christmas. So when I heard about the 100th episode, and I figured it would be sometime in May, and May was also when I was thinking of having the next round of chemo, I was thinking, nope, I am going to have chemo after that, and if they try to make me do it early, I'm going to tell them that nope, I can't do that. I've got this is my special treat this is my thing that I'm going to do. So at the time, well, I think always I kind of need goals or things to be able to look forward to, and I was having a hard time, and I was thinking that this would be something that I could focus on and would be my goal, and that if I was having a lot of trouble, which I am, but if I'm just having to not, if I feel like I'm failing at meeting a bunch of things that I want to be there for, if I'm having to miss them, but if there's one thing that I set up that if I don't miss that, then that's good. That's the important thing not to miss. Which isn't to say that any episode or any other show or stream or whatever isn't as good as any of the other ones or anything like that. Well, This Week on the Alt-Right's been a really big show for me, or it's really helped me out a lot, and like I've got so much family and support from all of that, and I mean, even though I've modded before, that's been an extra special one, just getting to know you guys for so long. I think that's the longest one I've been doing consistently too. So, and yeah, and I really love, I think springtime is my happiest time of the year too. So, just all of that, lots of wonderful things happening. So, so this show is special for me. So, yep, I went on and I talked for 5 minutes about that before I even got to what most of this was supposed to be about. So, I can't remember where I said what. It seems like it's a good idea to have a place here like this to just say, or just have everything down, like the whole story kind of thing. So somebody, if I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to appointments this week, or I'm doing this or that, and then you don't hear anything for a while, and then you hear something else, and it's kind of like, oh, where does it all fit in? And so what's the bigger picture? So wanted to kind of touch base more on that and let you guys know what's going on. So April was pretty crazy, and I was looking at the calendar today, and it was like, I was counting the days that I had appointments and days where I didn't have appointments. And I've had appointments more days than not for April, which is crazy. And it's nothing to really worry about too much. It's mostly annoying, and a lot of the appointments were kind of like maintenance and things that I was going to have to do anyway. So, like with the rheumatology, I did a bunch of labs and tests and scans just to, make sure all the organs are happy and my bones and aren't wearing away somewhere that I'm not noticing. Just something is more fibromyalgia, or is it more arthritis, and that kind of thing. I don't have a lot of the results back from that, but it's still, or I don't know. It's not a huge deal. But I did have some of my labs from my blood work came back, and they weren't really great, and it's kind of wait and see right now for the most part. But part of it too was that I was probably really close to another fever, and over the weekend I had a pretty hard time, and it did, I did get a fever, and it did spike a bit, and I had appointments, I think Wednesday. I didn't have an appointment last week, but I had stuff every other day last week, and it was a lot of work. And I'm just trying to think of anything that I could have done to have stopped a fever, and I can't really think of anything. So it was, yeah, so I can't, well, I guess it's a good thing I can't blame myself for that, and kind of knew it was coming too, but I'm mostly grateful that I was able to get as much stuff done as I could before the fever hit. And there was one more appointment today that I had to go to, and then after that I was gonna have a break, and I think there's one appointment that I'm gonna cancel because it wasn't, it's not a huge deal if I do that next week. But after the fever and being so exhausted last week, I was thinking, or I have been, I haven't been online much. Oh, I can't remember. I haven't been online much, mostly because I've been resting and just watching like really silly, well, like I come home and then I just need some like something that I don't have to focus too hard on, so I watch like beauty tutorials or something on YouTube, and just rest. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and then sleeping, obviously. Yeah, so that's, when you're tired, there's not really a lot you can do, and it's been hard keeping up with news and shows that I've missed, so I'm feeling pretty behind on that too. But anyway, after the show, after the 100th episode, I think I'm gonna try to give myself like a week of like total disconnect. Well, I don't know, just kind of logging out from stuff officially for like a week and getting back on my feet a bit, if I can. A lot of this stuff is really out of my control, but I think I'm gonna have a good week to just be able to rest. So this painting is called After the Ball, and I thought it was very appropriate. And I was feeling a lot like this last week, especially when I had my last test done, and my last appointment. And so this is going to be me after the show tomorrow, and for next week. And look, she's being a good girl, and so I'm going to be a good girl too. And just rest. Oh, okay. Oh, so an update to the whole infection thing, because I'm not sure if that got sorted out. Actually, now that I think about it, there isn't really a huge update to that. I got some serious antibiotics. I think, was I through, or I don't know if that course was over when I had my update about it, but yeah, so well, my ear infection is gone, but I, like, with the whole chronic sinus infection thing, I'm not totally sure how that's going, and if I have a new sinus infection, or if I'm going to be getting new ones, or what I should even be doing if I get a new one. My primary care doctor was kind of like, okay, this is getting ridiculous, that maybe you should see an ENT, and I was like, oh, great, because I didn't have a really good experience with them before, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll just go and make my doctor happy, and now I've got like 50 other appointments, who's gonna, you know, what's one more kind of thing. So it's a really weird, like, why do I have weird ENTs? Because, like, I had seen one before, and, like, he was actually making fun of me, like, because I was having a panic attack, because he was shoving random stuff up my nose without telling me, and, like, what? Or, like, who does that? Or else, to turn it around, who doesn't have a panic attack if you start shoving stuff up your nose? So, okay, and then there's just some other stuff he did, and he was grouchy. So anyway, I wanted to go to a different ENT, and so my doctor had recommended one, but then I couldn't see him soon enough, and I just wanted to get it over with. So there was this other guy that I went to see, and to sum it up, he was a jerk, and he didn't believe in sinus infections. And then I get the whole thing, like, I know that, like, that people say they have sinus infections a lot when they don't have sinus infections, and that there are some kinds of sinus infections that antibiotics don't work for them, and like, I have done a lot with sinus stuff in my life, and actually I started getting sinus infections when I was 9 after I had a concussion. So it's been I've had a bunch of, oh, that's like a whole other story, everything that happened from that concussion. But, and I do intend in the future sometime, like I keep thinking it's going to be sooner, but I'm probably going to have to say in the future based on how, little energy I have and how, I think I'm going to make a video and then like a couple weeks later I don't have anything, but I've got a couple of things that I thought would probably be helpful to give you guys a backstory about what's going on with me right now. But anyway, yeah, so I had a sinus infection about 20, or a concussion about 20 years ago, when I was 9. Don't do the math. And it's like, I definitely know what it's like not to have a sinus infection and what it's like to have a sinus infection. And the doctors were pretty strong about me needing to be on antibiotics when these, certain things happened. And so I think, obviously I don't know because I'm not in somebody else's body, but just for me, I can tell when it's turned from sinus pain to sinus infection, and that I need to stay on top of it. And I've gotten yelled at so many times for not staying on top of it because I hate antibiotics, and I want to push it out as far as I can. And so okay, anyway, so I'll let you guys know so you're not like, I'm not one of those people who, like the hypochondriac who's always like, oh, I have a sinus infection or whatever. So I was talking to this ENT guy, and he was talking about something, and he's like, oh, we'll do this, and then I'll, like, after this test, I'll talk to you about, well, actually, no, I won't, because I'll be on vacation, with quotation marks. And he kept doing that, and I was like, are they forcing him to retire? Because he was, like, pretty old. And again, and I was like, trying to, and I was, I said something about I hope he had a good vacation, and he was just kind of like rolled his eyes and groaned, and I was like, what? Or like, something weird's going on here. And my mom was actually wondering if he had some kind of like surgery or something that he was having to do, and it wasn't like he was retiring or something. Anyway, there was already something weird going on there. But at the same time, you'd think that an ENT would know, or like who was that old would know how concussions work, like with brain injuries and stuff. So I was trying, okay, well, yeah, first of all, he was kind of like, yeah, well, there's no such thing as a sinus infection. And I won't get into that because it's too complicated, and he's wrong. Or, I don't know, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm just not going to get into that. That's a whole thing. And, he had all these, things that, like these exceptions or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that my whole condition is because, I had a head injury that, did something to my sinuses. It's probably one of those special conditions where you can have a sinus infection, according to him. And so I was trying to tell him about that, and he's like, what happened 20 years ago? And I was like, really? Like, there's people in comas for 20 years, and it's like, hey, like, do you go up to them and do you say, hey, it's been 20 years, why aren't you better? Because it's like, when you have a brain injury and, it does something, damage can be permanent, So that just seemed like, how are you a doctor if you don't, or especially an ENT, or, if you're a neurologist, I would be extremely alarmed, but still an ENT, you'd think he'd know that stuff. And so then he was like, well, I don't have scans from 20 years ago. And it's kind of like, what? Or like, oh, that's a weird thing. And then, oh, okay. And then so then I was trying to, when I was telling him about my concussion, because what I did was I slipped on some ice and I hit the back of my head on a concrete step. And he's like, well, you hit the back of your head. You don't have sinuses in the back of your head. Well, like, I'm no physicist or whatever, and like, seriously, I don't get physics, but, like, you know the whole in objects that it stays in motion, or basically, inertia is kind of a big thing, you know? And when you, like, I assume that it's like head injury 101, that if you get hit in the head with something, your brain gets damaged in the opposite area from where it was hit, you know? So, like, so that's why, you know, my brain just kind of like propelled forward and got kind of messed, or, you know, it was the front that was inflamed, and, you know, my sinuses got hit, or I'm assuming they got hit. I don't know for what. So it's just my sinuses were hit from that. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just really bizarre. And then he got, or it was, okay, I'm trying, like, I think my blood pressure's starting to get up, so I probably should leave that. But, he was so belligerent after, and like, he literally left the room and said, sorry to ruin your day. And I was like, what the heck? What kind of doctor is that? And so anyway, they had given me some paperwork and I didn't know how to fill out some of it. So I was going to work on it afterwards. So and the nurse was going to help me. So when the nurse came back in, I was actually crying. And she's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And then I told her what had happened, and she got really upset. So she went out and she made the doctor come back and apologize to me, which was kind of a first. And he was like, that nurse has some serious power. She actually kind of reminded me of Sarah Huckabee Sanders a bit. Just something about her. And so, like, he came in and he kind of like he had his head down and he was like pretty sheepish, and I'm just imagining what things must be like behind the scenes there. And I think I know, or I have a feeling that she's got some power back there. But I am glad that she did that, and she was really nice. But that's one of the weirdest, and that's saying something too for me. Like, that was one of the weirdest appointments I've had in a while, and I'm not going to be forgetting that one. But oh yeah, and so then, like, what? Any serious update from that is no. I might have a sinus infection right now, actually, just because like, there's some of the signs are saying that or some of my check boxes are off that I have it, but I'm, especially after that last appointment, and then I'm so sick of antibiotics that I'm gonna see if I can push this one out. And I'm so weak from everything, especially that last fever too, that I just want a break. So hopefully things will settle down in a bit, and hopefully this one can pass without antibiotics. I don't know. We'll see in a bit, but I definitely, today actually was better as far as the sinus infection part goes, so I have some hope that it can pass by itself. And then also, I'm not sure if my voice sounds any different. One of the reasons, besides the fever and being so tired already, that I didn't make a video before this was because I was having some trouble with the coughing fit thing again. It's not related to the sinus infection, and it wasn't like one. I didn't cough up blood this time, and so it wasn't really too bad. But for the past couple of days, I've been trying not to. I've been trying to be really careful not to start coughing again, and I don't really know how to describe it or if it really means anything, but my lungs kind of have been feeling a little fragile lately anyway, and some of it, I don't know, like because when I get the fever and then when I get feverish, it's like I can feel it in my muscles, and I can just, I don't know, it just like, I can feel stuff deteriorate, or it just feels like stuff's deteriorating, I guess. And so, there's just something just doesn't feel right when I'm coughing. So, I've got my inhaler and everything. Actually, I'm thinking that I might need a different kind of inhaler, because this one isn't working as well as it used to, but I don't want to see another doctor about that one. It's doing its best, so let's see how that goes. But yeah, but I've been trying to be careful with what I say, or with my talking, and so I actually was going to make a video a couple times in the past week or so, but just the coughing got in the way. So today I had a bit of adrenaline after getting back from my appointment, and so and then also wanted to get this out sometime around the time before this week on the outright, when so I'm gonna I'm marking my next rest or whatever from that, like from, I'll say, a week or whatever, so maybe I'll try to see you guys on the show next week. I don't know, but I'm going to be a good girl and taking a nap, or taking a rest. And I'm sorry that I haven't been really good at replying to comments lately. And I know that that you guys are okay with that, and I'm, also, there's something weird going on where I'm having trouble finding some of the comments too, so, I'm gonna have to, I'm so sorry that I am so technologically challenged. I keep thinking, like, how do I even mod if I don't know what I'm doing for a lot of the stuff? But I guess I can figure that out. Yeah, so if you don't see my comment, or if you don't see me reply to your comment, I'm sorry, and I'm going to try to get to it soon, and I do read them, but I don't always, or when I can see them. It's, I think I am seeing most of them. There's just a handful that somehow is getting caught behind YouTube's filter or something. But I do see your comments a lot, so, and they really do help, and I kind of reply to them in my head, because I can't, my fingers can't always work replying to them. Okay, and then something weird happened with the stream or the recording. My computer kind of froze, or what am I even saying? Well, screensaver went up. That's right. So I had to go back a little bit, and it's like, oh wow, I've been just talking for a half hour. um, yeah, so this was going to be short, and I'm supposed to be taking a break, but oh, and I was worried about coughing and about my voice, but yeah, I got a half hour, and um, okay, so I should probably go. Okay, so yeah, back to the comments. Thank you for leaving them, everybody, and I do like them, and they do help a lot, and they're encouraging, and I think about them when, like, when I was doing some of the scans last week, I was, thinking through them in my mind, and I don't know if I'm weird, but I pray for people when like when I'm in an MRI or something, because it's like it takes a while, and so anyway, so I was thinking about you guys' comments, and I was praying for you guys. So yes, they are very much appreciated and encouraged, and I hope I don't sound like I'm looking for attention, but I just wanted you guys to know that that I'm getting the love, and that I'm loving you guys back. And oh, okay, so I don't know if I totally got to a spot where I have anything really definite, but so basically, yeah, there's nothing that's too bad, or there's nothing really serious exactly that's different that's jumping out, except my inflammatory markers are, a lot of them are elevated, and I did get a fever over the weekend, and I'm pretty close to, I wouldn't be surprised if after I let myself unwind or whatever, after the show on Wednesday, if I do get another fever, just because like I can mentally somehow hold back a lot of this stuff with adrenaline, but you can't go on living like that, and so I'm able to kind of, so even though I'm able to do it, I can't keep it up, and so it's like my battery's getting down to 0, and then it's like, okay, everything can come back now, and so, and and sometimes too, it's not even, like, it sounds like a bad thing, but sometimes it's worth it to get a fever, like, or when I get a fever, because, well, for my cousin's wedding, it was like a week of really intense stuff, and I I got a really bad fever at the end of it, but you know what, I would, because I was a maid of honor and I had to do a bunch of stuff, and it was out of town, so I had to do it all in a week when I got there a couple years ago, and it was, I wouldn't have given that up, or the fever was well worth it, I would say. So so again, I don't think I would have changed things in order to not get this fever, and that, that's kind of how life is too. You got to pick where you spend your energy, and with people who don't have limitations, like I do with health, there's always other limitations, like with money or other things. So this is a price I'm willing to pay for thriving and not just surviving, I guess. So yeah, so I think of it that way, and if I get a fever, I get a fever. And in a little while, I'll forget that I had a fever anyway, and I'll just remember the good stuff, and I'll just remember all the things that I got done. So So don't worry about that too much. And it's just that I probably won't be able to do too much anyway. But again, don't worry about me and don't worry about that. It's nothing really serious. And it's just normal life for me too anyway. So yeah, so my I am a little bit, I don't want to, the thing with lab results and blood work is that you don't want to get too worried because they can, well, especially if you've got like rheumatological stuff like I do, they can be all over the place. And like when I was younger, before they knew all the rheumatological stuff that was wrong with me, I would get all these crazy blood work, and like there are a couple times where it's like, oh my gosh, where is she? She's like, according to the blood work, she should be dead. And then they do it again, and this reading would be fine. And so it's just like, oh, okay, well that was random. So yeah, it's not just because you have a bad lab result doesn't mean that that's the end of the world. But I am a little bit worried that this might mean that the chemo isn't working as well as I thought it was. In November, right before I started the last round, I had lab work done that was really good and encouraging, because it did show that after everything that had happened, that the chemo had finally started to do something, and my inflammatory markers were going down. And it was really good going into the next round of chemo, knowing that, yep, this was doing something, and this was doing something positive, and that I wasn't doing it for nothing. And so kind of, oh, I don't think I told you guys though. So that's another good thing though. Sorry, I'm all over the place. When I did talk to my rheumatologist most recently, I was trying to get her to push back the chemo more. So like I had said before, we had talked about sometime in May, and the way it goes, it's every 4 to 6 months, I think. And I was trying to go from the angle of, well, I've been doing it every 4 months, and maybe could I try 6 months, just to see how long it is, or how long it'll work after that, because usually there's some kind of sweet spot once I start to get over the chemo. And I've done this kind of chemo I've been doing since early last year, but I've been on other immunosuppressant chemo treatments before that, and it would start off rough, but then after a little while I would start to feel like this little stamina and like some extra energy that I didn't have before, that I noticed. And then also when I had to go off of it, I did notice that I didn't have that extra oomph to keep going. But after this last round, I have noticed that extra thing, and I'm calling it a sweet spot now. Before, I wouldn't do the chemo in rounds. I would do it. Sometimes it was every day with a pill, and then one of them was once a week with a shot, and so it wasn't as dramatic as the rounds that I'm doing now. But and then I didn't have to have like a month or two of recovery time. So anyway, so I'm calling it my sweet spot, which is after I get over after I'm mostly recovered, and before, I guess, it goes out of my system or whatever, which would be at the end of 6 months, I'm guessing. So yeah, anyway, all of that is to say that I get to wait until late June or early July for my next round. So I'm looking forward to that. And well, I was excited about that before I got my blood, my lab work, and so I'm hoping that she still lets me do that, just as an experiment, even just to see what happens if I go longer between them. But anyway, that was exciting for me, and I was thinking that, oh, I should, you know, plan on doing some things with that extra time that I have. But right now I'm going to be resting, and I've been talking for over 40 minutes, and I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to talk without coughing for more than 10 minutes or so. So I'm crazy, and life does not go how I planned or thought, does it? Okay, so I probably better go now, but just letting you guys have a very random update, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow on the show, and if not, hopefully in a week or so, and hopefully I'll get to enjoy some more of this sweet spot time, but I don't know when that is going to be exactly. But I'm really tired now, and I don't know how much sense I'm making anyway. So probably should say goodbye, and I'll see you guys sometime soon, and love you guys. Okay, bye.